Reading series. We're on Luminous Life. This is what the book looks like. It's Lieberman was an optometrist. He was working with people. He got excited about what he was learning about light and eyesight, and he expanded his practice to begin to include his new knowledge. One of his basic premises is that light and vision and consciousness all interweave and interact together. It's an amazing basic premise, and it follows what the Talmud says about we see the world not how the world is, but we see the world how we are. So when we're playing with light, and we're playing with our vision, and we're playing with consciousness, we begin to see how all of this can actually guide us in things, how all of them are interrelated. So Jacob Lieberman was doing a lot of work with different types of people in terms of, testing eyes, and he had a time in meditation when he was spending time in the silence, where all of a sudden, when he opened his eyes, his vision was better. He went back and he checked it. He could check himself, and it was truly better. And from that point, he was curious. He was incredibly curious. And so he started all kinds of studies to see what was going on. Let me give you a little bit about vision, and I promise I won't tell it so your eyes glaze over, but I'll do some pretty broad detail. Vision is really about light that's reflecting. So in the back of our eyeballs, so to speak, we have 126 million photoreceptors that are called rods and cones. And the rods and cones will help us to see in dim light. The cones help us to see color. They're called rods and cones because that's how they're shaped. So if you went on Google Images and you pulled up a shape of the eyeball, you can see the rods and cones. There's a lot of other stuff there. You see the optic nerve, but the rods and cones truly are rod and cone shaped. It's quite fascinating to me. Anyway, the other thing that a rod does, it helps you to see in dim light, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting to that age where if the light is not bright enough and I pick up a book, I have to go turn another light on. So yes. So what's happening too with the rods is what Jacob Lieberman began to find in his scientific research was that light is actually seeking us and it's catching our attention. So what's happening is the light catches our attention and we kind of go there. It's catching our attention to some degree because of reflection. So what happens is we see an object, say we're driving along and we see an object, and we look at that object and light is reflected off of that object. It enters into our pupils, it goes through the back of our eye, down the optic nerve, goes to the nerve endings it needs to go to, and we have the thought, oh, that's a car. And we may like that car, not like that car. I see that car, I'm thinking, oh, that's my red sports car convertible that's showing up. So then we start to see how things that we're aware of will begin to show up in our world more often. The things that have caught our attention, then we begin to expand our consciousness to be aware of that. Jacob Lieberman also talked about how light serves in guiding us. Not only does it catch our attention, but it serves in guiding us. If we look at the plant and the animal kingdom, in plants, if you ever watch sunflowers, they'll turn their beautiful golden flower toward the sun. When we got up this morning, one of the sunflowers was looking this way, and by the time we left and started for church, it was already beginning to move. And so by the end of the day, it'll be facing another way. They're so fun to watch. In the animal kingdom, this same phenomenon happens in the Philippine Sea. On the Isle of Palau, there is a lake, and in that lake is filled with jellyfish. And when the sun comes up in the east in the morning, the jellyfish begin to move toward the sun, and once they get into the light of the sun, they stop. And as the sun travels from east to west, to begin to set, those jellyfish just go right across that lake with them. Sun sets, they rest there for the night. In the morning when the sun comes up in the east, here they go back across the lake. They catch the sunlight, they bask in it. They come back across, and there they are. And they do this day after day after day. Well, we're guided by light in different types of ways. It catches our attention, but if we're open to the light, if we're open to what's happening energetically, we can allow ourselves to be guided by the light. This is a known thing in quantum physics. Oh, I forgot something. But this is a known thing in quantum physics, but hold that thought and I'll share one more piece. So when Jacob Lieberman got really excited about light, he started doing a lot of research. And one of the things he found is that he could use a retinoscope and he could look at the light process in somebody's eyes while they're doing different activities. So I'm not so good in math. And what he found is that if we're doing an activity that we have to do effort in, and math is one of those things that I effort in, if we're doing an activity that we need to effort in, that what happens is what we see here on the left, the pupils will actually constrict. But if we're doing an activity that we love, like I love being up here talking to you, so I'm hoping that my pupils are dilated, we have what's happening over here to your right. So when we're working on a project, when we're trying to control the world, any of you do that? Are you control gifted? When we're trying to control the world, when we're working hard at something, when we're working really hard, when I'm learning some new material, particularly if it has something to do with biology or chemistry, that's a challenge for me. So I can expect that my pupils are going to be constricted. But when I'm doing something like relaxing, being with friends, my pupils are going to be dilated. So Jacob Lieberman continued to do this research, and what he found was that when we're with people and we're having a deep conversation, we're feeling really connected to that person, and our hearts are open, our pupils are going to be dilated. When people who are in love with each other spend time together, their pupils get to be about the same size of dilation. All of this shows the synchronicity of life and light. And then we can take it into the quantum physics. David Bohm tells us that light is energy and it's also information, content, form, and structure. How often do we think about light as being structured? We're going to talk about that a little bit in a minute. It's the potential for everything. In Unity, we talk about this as substance, and sometimes as energy, but Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, talked about it primarily as substance. So light is energy, but it's also information. In different forms of healing, such as pranic healing, we use light, the energy of light, to help clear the auric field. In reconnective healing, the frequency of light and data is what's being received in order for healing to occur. And it's looking at the fact that metaphysically, light is spiritual intelligence, or you could say divine intelligence. And all we have to do is receive it, be aware of it, let it attract us, let it call our name, so to speak, and then follow it and see where it goes. And we'll unfold a life that falls into the quantum physics principles. David Bohm also says all matter is frozen light. Life and light are the same energy in two different states. I had never thought about this before. Life and light are the same energies in two different states. Form would be light, which would be matter. If you touch your arms, you're touching your form. And the formless would be our thoughts. Like, think of thought. Think about a car you absolutely adore right now. And that's a thought. It's a thought that's formless, because our thoughts are formless. But what we know in Unity is that when we pair our thoughts and our feelings and use an elevated feeling such as love or joy, and we hold that for a period of time, that which is formless, the thought, comes into manifestation. We're always demonstrating. The question is, are we demonstrating what we wish to demonstrate? So what we teach in Unity so often is what I would call conscious demonstration. How to hold a thought, the formless, with the feeling, which often looks like formless, but there are times that, we can really recognize somebody's feelings, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But we hold that with an elevated emotion for a period of time, and that formless comes into form, and we experience matter. We experience life. It's exciting, because what it tells us is that when we know what we want, and we're willing to allow it to unfold, it will unfold in what we talk about as divine right order here. Mahatma Gandhi tells us that there's a force in the universe which, if we permit it, will flow through us and produce miraculous results. This is echoed in 1 John, the author who says, God is light. God is light. And if God is light, we are also light. So I actually should pull out my sunglasses and put them on, because these radiant, beaming lights are looking at me. And I'm looking back at you. The question is, how much of our light are we holding back? How much of our light are we covering up? Because the other thing that Jacob Lieberman discovered was that when we not only absorb light, but we also emit light. So when we are feeling really happy and joyful, when we're in harmony with our life, then our eyes will sparkle. So have you ever been around somebody and their eyes are sparkling? Yeah, they're excited and you know it. And have you ever been around somebody whose eyes are a little bit dull, so you know that something else is going on? It's an opportunity to look deeper and ask the question, how are you doing? How can I support you? How can I be light and invite your light to touch my light and expand? How do we do that? And that's so much of what we do together in spiritual community, is we live in that form to formless and formless to form. That flow, you can think of that about that as infinite and infinity in so many ways. When our light, the light of God that is within us, that is us, because we have the wholeness of the light of God within us, comes into congruence or alignment with our own personal unique light, then we call that health. And this is what it looks like. This is an aura, and I want to show you on a person too. So on the left-hand side, you see the auric field around somebody. We all emit what's called a biophotonic field. $1 million word for aura. When we are challenged in life, when we are been efforting in life, when we are trying to control life, when we feel like somebody has said something to us that we allow our light then to be dimmed, we see what starts happening on the right-hand side. Our aura field gets dense with energy. So it goes from light to more dense energy. In pranic healing, these are called thought forms. And it looks like this. So all around this young man, you see the light that's flowing out of his crown chakra, in and out. Then we see the other stuff around him. Those are considered to be thought forms. And thought forms come both from ourselves and they come from other people. They come from our own thoughts. I'm not good enough. There must be something wrong with me. Oh, I didn't do that very well. Do you all have any of those thoughts ever? And so what happens is that dense energy will begin to collect in our auric field. Or sometimes, maybe purposefully and maybe inadvertently, somebody says something and it feels hurtful to us for whatever reason. Maybe we have some Velcro for that. Maybe our mom or our dad or somebody in our life said something to us before and it sticks. Well, when something that somebody else says to us sticks, then we're going to add it to our auric field until we clear it. The beautiful thing is energy healing, and we can all do it on ourselves. Prayer, meditation, when we take the time to spend time in meditation, it's like we're spending time in light. We're spending time in this beautiful circle of light. And that light is clearing and cleansing our aura so that our frequency is very high. Here's a distinction between what are called positive and negative. I don't like the terms, but this is how it's used in this particular setting and this particular modality. We see the negative thought forms on the left: the anger, the desire, the selfishness, materialism, infidelity, greed, dishonesty, worry, calcified thought forms. Those are those thoughts that we have over and over and over, what I would call habitual thoughts. You know that science tells us that 95% of our thoughts are habitual, that they're ideas, they're beliefs, they're memories, because a memory is a trace of a neurochemical that gets solidified in our body, and we call it a feeling. So that's what it looks like. And so when you look at this on the left, and we go back to this, we see some of those thought forms. On the right-hand side, love, generosity, faithfulness, charity, humility, courage, compassion, devotion, honesty. Can you feel those radiate in your body? Listen to them again. Love, generosity, faithfulness, charity, humility, courage, compassion, devotion, honesty. That's who we truly are. And when we're living in the light, when we're allowing light to guide us and we're living from that place, that is who we are. So then we get to go back and see this aura or this auric field. When we're living the truth of ourselves, this is where we are and this is how we live. Myrtle Fillmore says the light is within you. It's within me, it's within you. And as we learn to look within, you become radiant, because light is a quality of mind, which includes our feelings, and its essence is finding outlets through your mental faculties. Our light is seeking to escape us. Our light is seeking to radiate forth from us. Our light is seeking to shine. Jesus said that we are the light of the world. When we take light and look at it as spiritual intelligence, we are the spiritual intelligence of the world. And we're it here, and we're it in the grocery store, and we're it wherever we go. And when we live our light, then we make a difference in the world. And we do it through a lot of ways. We'd be willing to give up control and start that process of allowing. Now, I have to tell you, this is for me, because I like control. I've picked up a piece of Christmas cactus that had fallen off a friend's plant it's almost a month ago now, and I brought it back home, and I stuck it in a jar of water, and I tell you, I have gone out there every day to look and see if it's rooting yet. And it's taking it almost a month, but it's got a little bit of root on it. So I was so grateful I put it in a jar of water so I didn't have to go digging it up and say, oh, did you grow yet? Because we have such a tendency to do that. Do any of you, are you challenged a little bit by impatience? Yeah, if you're challenged by impatience, you're control gifted. It's something to definitely celebrate, and then to say, well, I've mastered that gift, I can let this one go. When we turn our attention inward and we listen, when we listen to that voice inside of us that says, you are loved, you are amazing, you are magnificent, you are incredible. That's the voice of spirit within us. For as the wholeness of spirit lives within us, we cannot be anything but those things. So part of listening is learning how to discern between that habitual thought and the voice of spirit. It's really our voice. The I am is us. Because we are spiritual intelligence. Because we are the light of the world. And then when we learn to expand our conscious awareness and know, and I'm not talking about up here know, but right here know. that we are infinite, that we are truly that one presence and that one power that we speak about as a statement of being. There's a reason we call that a statement of being, for that is the truth of us. So are you willing to be the light of the world?
Yes.
So let's say this together. I am the light of the world. As I express my light, I create a luminous light. That's what I want to see in you. That's what I want to see in me. And Mindy's going to come, we're going to sing, and she's going to lead us in meditation.